Hi, my name is Jean and this is my channel, Learn with Jean. My hope is that you'll learn with me as I grow, expand my business as a course creator, as a thinkific expert, so that you can learn from my mistakes and avoid repeating those mistakes and get to building your online business much faster and much smoother. So this video is all about helping you find your ideal customer and ideal target. This process is a little bit of a different process than what most people talk about. It's a bit of a combination of what I call creative imagination and also online research to help you tap into both your left brain and right brain, explore, create, and find your ideal target customer in a much more balanced way. Oftentimes, and I speak from experience, I've made a lot of mistakes in this area of finding my ideal customer, finding my ideal target, because I worked backwards in my business and I started working before I even started building this foundation and fundamental of who I wanted to work with. I had to learn this the hard way, and this is an exercise that I still do, not only in my business, but also in everything that I'm doing with growing and expanding and refining where I want to go in business. My hope is that this exercise will help you reach for your creative side, but also reach into this vast internet digital space to research and get some ideas. I wanted to make this video is because often we talk about finding your target market, going to do market research, and that's great, but I also wanted to bring in this creative lens because as adults we are so busy and so caught up in our own lives and caught up with the world and what's going on that we forget to creatively dream, imagine, and explore. So the whole idea is to explore, dream, and cast a wide net of who we might ideally want to work with and who ideally we'd want in our business as customers. And the reason for this is because kids do this all the time. They create stories, they're very imaginative, and they're very creative. And so as adults, why can't we do the same thing and create those stories and create those characters that we once did as kids? Dream, create, and explore who our ideal target customer is, and also do the work of going online and researching. This video may be a little bit long, but I'll put timestamps and hope that if you have any feedback, thoughts, or questions, feel free to leave a comment at the end of the video. I might turn this into a PDF, so feel free to leave a comment if this is something you'd be interested in seeing as a worksheet. So this is a two-step process, with the first step being very creative and very imaginative. And for this first exercise, I suggest you to take a pen and paper, pencil and paper, whatever you like to use, and go and find a quiet space. Now, this can be in your home, this can be in the park, or just it can be wherever that's accessible and easy for you. I do this exercise in my local park. I find a table where it's quiet and where everyone has mostly left for the day, and where most of the kids and parents have gone inside for dinner, and I can sort of have a quiet moment to think for myself. It's really important in business is to not only be doing, but also taking the time to pause and taking time to reflect and get clear on what our goals are and if this feels right and if this feels aligned. So, okay, creative imagination. So take this process and do this on a pen, paper, pencil, whatever works for you, in a quiet space, and really spend time really reflecting, creating, imagining all the wide possibilities that exist out there for your target customer. And there's no right or wrong way to do this, but really it's just about being thoughtful, intentional, and being present with this exercise. I think it's really important to set aside time to do this exercise and to allow yourself that quiet space to really dream and imagine and create that ideal customer. Because this can be really fun later on as you expand your business and you look back and be like, oh, I created my ideal customer and look how much we are aligned. And you want to just write as much as you can, at least a couple pages. And after you've written a couple pages, go back, read it, and just enjoy and experience what you've just written. And then later on, you may decide you want to continue writing this some more if you feel like you've reflected and written enough about who your ideal target customer would be. I list some questions like, what is your interaction with them like? Where do they find you? What do you have in common? How do those interests line up? What makes you a fit for this customer? And what do you see as that, makes you just a match, not just in terms of qualities and traits, but also personality, because, customers are people. We are human beings. So that's really what this activity is about dreaming and creating that character who is a fit for our business. They're interested in what we're learning, they're interested in what we're teaching, and they're interested in being part of our experience and our journey for the long term. We're not interested in customers that are just, one-time customers. We're hopefully interested in building long-term relationships with people that we bring into our business. Then you can now move on to the second step. It's a little bit more lengthy. It's a little bit more comprehensive. That's what I call the more technical process of researching and developing your ideal target. Now, this exercise, I've kind of broken it down into 5, 6 steps. And the idea, I've kind of simplified it in this document, but I'll also go and give you an example from a Facebook group of how you can take this second part and apply it to a Facebook group post. So researching your ideal customer, you want to go online. Facebook groups are great despite how people feel about Facebook groups and Facebook in general. There's a lot of activity, there's a lot of interaction, and there's a lot of people still spending time and hanging out on Facebook. Reddit is also a great source. Reddit is very different than the other social media platforms, but it can be very fruitful and yield a lot of great insights depending on how you experience and how you enjoy using Reddit. Quora is another one. It's a little bit more of a different kind of platform because the idea is that every post on Quora has to be supported by facts and research. And so the first step is just to research with an open mind. When we go in with, I need to find this, I need to look for XYZ, we kind of miss out on really great information that might be available when we just allow the magic of just internet research to pop whatever on the page is meant for us. So I know that sounds a little cheesy, but I think it's really true. And I've experienced it myself as well. So that's what I would do, is go and research and just to get an idea of what people are looking at and looking for, what people are saying, in terms of what they're interested in buying, what they're interested in purchasing, what they're looking for help with, because that will help you kind of get a clear profile and build your profile. This is the hardest exercise that I've done, but this part is a lot more harder because it really drills down into the psychology of people in terms of what their buying behaviors are, what their demographics, their profile, their education level, that all informs how they find you and what they're interested in learning. I really recommend after you've done your research is just to, take a Google Doc, take a Microsoft Word document, and just note insights that you find, whatever, learnings that you are discovering from this process. It's really important to document as much as you can. There's no right or wrong way. It's just, whatever works for you. Everyone has their own way of documenting, and I think that's what's important to know. So now you've started to research. Now you want to ask yourself, who isn't a fit for my business? Because this is important because there's tons of people out there who are interested in learning online and teaching online, but the one thing they forget sometimes is who they don't want in their business, because this will save you a lot of time, headache, frustration, and money. Because when you have the wrong kind of customers in your business, you spend a lot of time fixing the problems with the wrong customers who aren't interested, who have problems, who want a refund, who don't like what you're offering, don't like what you're teaching, and then you kind of get weighed down by those kind of problems rather than focusing on bringing in the right kind of people who are interested in what you have, what you're teaching, and what you are selling. So what you don't want to track, this is also in terms of personality, in terms of budget, in terms of mindset. If your customer is going to, nickel and dime you and tell you that, they're not interested, or they, read everything and take all your materials and then they ask you for a refund, that's definitely not a customer you want in your business, because it really creates problems. So those are just some ideas, and those are clear examples that I have seen from Facebook groups, and I'll also give you an example from my own business of customers that I don't want, which is customers that you've written out a scope of work to help a client build their course, and then we agree on the price and everything, and then halfway through the project they're like, okay, I need a refund now because I am having financial issues and I can't afford the rest of the project and I need to cancel it. So that's an example of a customer you don't want, is to have them halfway through the process to say, I need a refund and cancel the rest of the project because I didn't budget. But the idea is that you don't want that kind of problems in your business, because then it leads to cash flow issues and you are stuck with issuing refunds and cancellations of projects, and it just makes business a lot more difficult. So that's step 2, identify the customer you don't want. So that's clearly what I don't want in my business anymore, is customers that want to cancel a project halfway after we've started. And it's also a lesson of having really solid agreements where there are no refunds. And so now step 3 would be, okay, so now I've clearly defined who I don't want to work with, who I don't want in my business. Now I want to think about the people I do want in my business. Let's think about their demographics, how much money they have, what's their employment status, are they educated, or are they self-educated, are they married, what's their lifestyle, what do they like to buy, how do they like to spend their free time, what are their brands, what's their mindset, are they interested in buying lots of cheap things, or are they the kind of person that buys quality over quantity. That just helps you tap into the right target customer in your business. So I've listed those out, and now you want to then, now that you started to identify those characteristics and traits, now you can start to summarize and look for patterns and trends between what you've just creatively imagined in the first part and with this part earlier of identifying their characteristics, patterns, behaviors, financial income levels, and what they're interested in spending, what brands do they spend on, because that helps you identify what they're willing to pay and whether they're right for your business. So as a second example I want to give you is, if your buyer, let's just say, shops at, they shop often, but they always shop at Forever 21 and H&M, which is fine. Those are fast fashion, affordable brands. But if they're spending, lots of money at those stores, and rather than, buying a few key pieces at more higher quality items, then you may decide that they're not a right fit, because if that they always want cheap courses and you want to sell premium courses, then they're never going to buy from you, and it's not really worth your time to invest in them for your business. But the idea is, instead of selling buying many, the idea is, instead of targeting someone who wants to spend money on lots of, affordable and budget-friendly fast fashion brands rather than more premium brands, then they're not a right fit for your business, and the likelihood of them buying from you is very slim to none, because they don't want to buy a premium product. They want to buy a more budget-friendly product at lower prices but higher quantities, because that's just who they are. Because some people like that. There are people out there that are like that, and that's okay, because we don't focus on that. We focus on people who are interested in premium and who are interested in high quality. Another example I want to give you is in my business, I do not advertise on Fiverr, because in my experience early on in my business, I was on Upwork. Over time, raised my rates on Upwork because I wanted to attract more premium clients, work a ton, but work just enough at a price that was allowed me to scale and allowed me to grow and allowed me to support myself, rather than working a ton of small projects at low prices, which that's how I felt at the time Fiverr was. So I don't personally advertise or offer my services on Fiverr for that reason. And then the next step then would be to start taking all this information and now to start building your customer target. And this is a really fun exercise to not just do this for the first part of what you creatively imagined and dreamed and explored, but also this second part of researching and defining and going deep into the psychology of who your potential customer might be. Here is where I suggest you start drawing, and drawing a picture might help, depending on if you're a visual learner or if you're more of a written person, then you can draw it out. The idea is you want to start, labeling and, putting the details in so that every time you're working on your business, you really have this visual picture right next to you, and you can say, okay, this is who I've defined in my business, and this is who I want as a potential customer, and this is how they kind of line up. And so then the last step before I go into the Facebook group post as an example is to now take these personas and compare them side by side. So this would be the first persona that you did in your creative imagination, and then the second step of researching and drilling deep into those details. The idea is that you want to see sort of how they line up, how they match up, and then later on to kind of have this as a reference as your business grows and you get to see who the customers that are coming into your business and to see where they kind of line up in terms of the personas that you created. It's just a fun, and it's also a very helpful and really necessary exercise that I never did in my business until very late in the game, because I wasn't really sure whether I was in this for the long haul or not. But in the last 2 years, I've had a lot of time to reflect and think and explore a lot of different paths and my own beliefs and mindset, and so that's why I've spent the last 2 years, but also recently in the last 6 months, really on this exercise, because it's really helped me define where I want to go in my business and what I want to be doing and who the ideal customers are. So now I want to then go back to the Facebook post that I mentioned earlier, because I think this is a great example of how you apply this to a Facebook group post. Now, let's just say you are a person who wants to sell DIY fix-it. This is a great opportunity for you to get some insights on your ideal customer and to have practice with this activity, because it takes a lot of work. This process and this exercise isn't overnight. It takes a lot of practice, it takes a lot of work, but it's very rewarding and very eye-opening personally for me, and hopefully it will be eye-opening for you. So if you are a DIY person, you love to fix things and you like to repair stuff instead of buying things brand new, and you're frustrated because, let's just say, you've hired people before to fix appliances, but they've never really truly done a good job, and you've always found that they've missed things or overlooked issues, and you've decided that you really want to apply your skills as a DIY to help others fix their appliances at home. So let's just say let's just look at this example, and this person is looking for help with fixing and repairing a Samsung top loader washing machine. And they say that, they've done everything, but they still can't figure out why it's not working. And maybe you know what the issue is because you have a lot of experience with washing machines, especially Samsung washing machines. And then the other important characteristic to look. The other important information from this post is they said that they are pensioners. Now, this is really important because you started to get some information that this person is married. You can identify maybe their budget based on how much a top loader washing machine is, and then also the fact that they are pensioners. So those are 3 key qualities and traits that you've already identified by this potential customer. And you might want to then use this as an opportunity to ask them, okay, so what do this person, your husband, said everything's intact except for the belt, but the machine is not spinning. You can ask questions and follow up to say, have you hired someone? If so, how much do they charge you? Were they good at what they said they were going to do? Did they resolve the issue? Who have you tried hiring? Handyman, or hiring, a neighbor, or hiring a Samsung specialist? This is all just drilling down and asking questions about their behavior so that you know whether they are a right fit potentially for your business. And then you can follow up to say, if all that hasn't worked, is this a frequent problem? Because if this is a frequent problem that they're experiencing, this is an opportunity for you to specialize in your business. But the second part, I know this is so long, but this is really important. But the second part is so you want to ask them, what's your budget? What if I said I have a process where I can teach you how to fix any kind of Samsung machine, or Samsung dryer, for example, because I think they make washing machines and dryers. You could ask them, what if I have a process that I could teach you, and I'll give you an example of how I've done it. Would this be something that you and your husband would be interested in buying a course from later on? Would you be interested in learning from me? And you can say, you can even ask more questions. You can even ask more questions in the post. You can ask them if you can reach out to them via direct message and say, and then ask them, what's your budget? What kind of would you be willing to spend if you knew how to fix this problem recurringly, not just for Samsung washing machines, but dryers, because the same issue comes up with washing machines and dryers and other, similar types of, appliances with Samsung. And then the idea is, the idea is you start to really get clear on, their pensioners. So what's their budget? Where are they living? What's the cost of living? What are they buying in terms of food and spending on their grocery bills? Because that's going to help you decide whether they are going to buy from you or not. Because if they're not going to spend $50 on a course, then they're likely not even going to spend $50 on a membership. So I'm just giving you an example because I don't know exactly how much, but I hope that is really helpful and gives you some context to then deciding whether, I hope this is helpful. The idea I wanted to give you was to help you decide whether this is going to be a potential fit in your business as a customer, because then you can you can use this exercise and, repeat this exercise a dozen times throughout your day, and just to get practice. And I think that's the best part of this, is to practice and to identify through these kinds of examples whether these customers are potential buyers for your business or not. So I hope that helps. I know that was long-winded. Leave a comment if you're interested in this worksheet on how to define your ideal target customer from a creative lens, but also from this online research backwards learning example. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you soon.